For this tutorial, we're going to be looking at what are known as conditional statements. These are expressions that have an answer of either true or false, and they are generally used in conjunction with control statements like if, or the looping statements such as, so here's a control statement such as if or if else, looping statements like forever if, and where's the other one here? Repeat until. All of these, and there are some others, all of these rely on control statements, or sorry, they rely on conditional statements in order to make their decisions about whether or not they go into one branch or another, or whether or not they keep looping or stop looping. You can see this shape, this key shape, is the one that is used for to represent conditional statements. And so I'm just going to take these out now. And so when we talk about conditional statements, that key shape, if you go looking for it, you'll find, most obviously, you'll find it here in the operators menu. So we're going to start by looking at these three operators, and they are less than, equal to, and greater than. So how do we make use of these, and what kinds of operations can we perform with them? So let's start by looking at less than. If I put in some simple values here, 1 less than 2, well, the number 1 is less than 2, and so that statement is true. Whereas if I said 5 less than 2, and I check that by double clicking, that statement is obviously false. So these statements, all of these conditional statements, they all have an answer of either true or false. So for the equals, I'm going to put in 3 and 3. 3 is obviously equal to 3, but 3 is not equal to 6. So I could do the same thing for greater than. The number 5 is greater than 1. True. Okay, so how do we make use of these? Because obviously we don't need these to tell us whether or not these numbers are greater than or equal to each other. Because we can tell that on our own. So in order to compare things, we're in general going to be comparing variables to one another. And so I'm going to start to put together a simple little set of comparisons. I'm going to create a variable, and in this case I'll create a variable called student age, and I will set my student age to be, well, a typical student might be 16 years old. So I set that to 16. And now I'm going to use these conditional statements to test a couple of things. So for example, first of all, let me put my variable student age. I'm going to use the equals operator first because that's the easiest one. And I'm going to check and see if student age is equal to, and I'll just go ahead and use 16 to start. And so right now I've set student age to 16 with this operator, but I actually haven't done it yet. I'm going to, let me increase the size of the stage so we can actually see what we're working with here. So if I increase the size of the stage, you can see student age is currently 0, but if I double click on this, student age is now 16. If I check here, student age should be equal to 16. Yep, that's true. So how might I use that? Just with a simple if statement. If student age is equal to 16, then we would probably say something. How about you are halfway through high school? So if student age is equal to 16, we would say this. And this one goes ahead and says it. I've already set the age to 16. Might be a lot more interesting if we actually let the user enter what their age was. So we ask, what is your age? And we wait. Then we're going to set student age to be the answer that we get. And now, what is your age? We wait. We set our student age to answer. And we check this. What is your age? And now I'm going to say 17. And notice it doesn't say anything. If I put this again and I put in 16, you are halfway through high school. So there's an example of using a conditional statement. I could switch this around a little bit. So maybe I might want to say if student age is greater than 16, and now I'll put that in, you are, and I'll change this to be you are more than halfway through high school. And if I run this one now, what is your age? Now if I put in 17, you are more than halfway through high school. Whereas if I put in 15, it says nothing. So there's a very simple example of how you use the greater than, equal to, and I didn't do an example with less than, but you can probably fill in the gaps there with less than. Now there's one last thing I want to talk about in this tutorial, just because it's an operator that it would have been nice if Scratch included it, but they did not. But it's going to be one of the ones that you do have to be able to use. And that is the concept of greater than or equal to. So for example, right here this says student age greater than 16, but sometimes I want to check whether or not someone is 16 or older than 16. So basically once they've had their 16th birthday, I want to check for that or any time later. And that is known as greater than or equal to. So the way we would create that operator is we actually have to make use of the or. So this is the only other one I'm going to look at for today. So if I want to check and see if something is greater than or equal to 16, then I actually have to create a comparison for both of those conditions. So I create a comparison for greater than 16, I create a comparison for equal to 16, and then I assemble them just in the same way I would say it. Is this student greater than or equal to 16? And I'll drop that in place and put that in my if statement. And now this is checking to see if this student is greater than or equal to 16. You have already had your 16th birthday. And so now when I ask this student what is their age, what is your age? If I put in 16, you've had your 16th birthday. If I run this again and say the student says they're 21, you've already had your 16th birthday. Because this person, we are checking to see if that is greater than or equal to 16. So there is a brief overview of the basics of the different operators you can use. We're going to focus on the less than, equal to, and greater than when we think about simple operators. But as I said, because Scratch doesn't provide greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, we actually have to construct our own. And the way we do that is we use the or statement to construct these just in the way I'm showing you right here. And the interesting thing to keep in mind when you construct your or statement is you have to do a complete comparison with each side of the or statement. Student age greater than 16 or student age equal to 16. I have to have a full comparison on either side. So these 5 comparisons that I've laid out for you here, these are going to be the ones that you're going to use with any kind of regularity.